Is he very charismatic?
He is very good, but he's very down to earth.
Oh, wow.
You know, to me, it was a semi-mythological experience. I felt
No,
like,
I'm getting that.
I felt like
because-
I went to Mount Olympus and I'm having, oh, hey, Zeus, what's shaking, baby? You know,
That's brilliant.
you know,
I love it. I feel the same if I
You
was
know-
sitting having supper next to Mick Jagger.
why does music affect you? To me, that's what the soul is all about. It's connecting. Why does some music connect with some people to bring them to tears or laughter or change their entire mood? You know, what is it about music that does that? To me, it's kind of a divine situation.
Jane she's an international movie star. I'm sure she's quite a hurricane. And,
Yeah.
and you've been filming all over the world.
I have a
right?
line in one of my songs where I call her a tender hurricane.
Tender hurricane.
Yeah.
Was it a lot to handle?
Well, no, initially when you meet her, she is a film star, obviously, and initially when I saw her, and I thought, okay, this, it's going to be fun to maybe go out with her and see whatever happens, whatever. But I'm thinking, but do I really want to get involved with a movie star?
Okay.
Hello there.
Hello. I am so excited.
Come on, how excited!
to be in the Cabana
Yeah.
with Mr. John Zambetti.
Thank you.
For those that don't know, local rock star, the leader of the Malibooz.
Thank you. A legend in my own shower.
A legend in your own shower. An ER doctor.
Y'all.
Oh my gosh, for 40 years. A father
Yes, indeed.
and a surfer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now the wonderful love of Jane Seymour, right?
Yes,
nice
indeed.
to see you
Thank
there.
you, sweetie. Thank you, honey.
Thank you for joining me. What an absolute pleasure.
I didn't know I was a part. Ooh.
So you're actually one of my favorite people in Malibu. And
likewise.
Jane too. You have a lovely, soulful, magical, creative presence. And thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for inviting.
So, we all know you and love you as the lead singer and the leader of the Malibooz.
Yeah.
But
We actually have two lead singers. I don't want to take away from Walter, but
right,
yes.
yeah.
But I am
Sure.
the leader of the band.
You are the leader of the band, and the band was formed in
The current version in 1964.
1964.
Yes. And still talking to each other. That's even more amazing.
Isn't that amazing? And it's classic surf music, isn't it?
Well, yeah, we've kind of, really, by 65, we were really more of a British invasion band
I like it.
by that time because the surf was kind of molding into, because I had previously been, from 62 to 64, we were really doing more instrumental stuff. Then 64, Walter joined, and that became really the Malibooz. It became more of a vocal band. But, my late wife used to say I was a hoarder.
Hoarder of what?
But I used to say I was an archivist.
Oh.
And so I've actually we had something a few years ago. We had an anniversary show, and I got the original set list from 1964, and it was pretty much 99%, Beatles, Rolling Stones, Kinks, Animals, Hollies.
Wow.
Yeah.
All the best.
Yeah.
All the best. So, we're going to really get into your musical odyssey and your journey. But what a lot of people don't know, you're also an ER doctor, or you were an
Yes.
ER doctor for 40 years,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I mean, rock and roll, ER. What is the drive towards being also an ER doctor?
Yeah. Well, I started out, as a musician, and then went back to school to become a physician. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of similarities really between them.
What are they?
Well, working in the emergency department is really kind of an exciting live performance
Right.
situation
Right. Yeah.
where, you have to learn to connect.
Mm,
I'm a firm believer that people get better if they believe you can help them
right.
and if they want to get better.
Right.
And people don't come to the emergency department because they wanted to come see you like a normal
Right.
doctor. They come because whatever, they got shot in the parking lot and the ambulance brought them there. And so you have a very short time to convince a complete stranger that they're safe
Right.
and that you can help them
Right.
and that they can relax as much. When I say relax, obviously it's difficult to relax, but the fact is they can relax their psyche in the sense of knowing that they're in good hands and they can feel they can speak freely to me and that I'll be in a non-judgmental situation because I need to know everything in order to help them.
In a really short space of
Yeah.
time. It's a pretty heroic thing to do,
Well,
to
I
be
like
an
to think so.
emergency, to emergency
Thanks.
doctor. It really is.
Yeah. But there are similarities in terms of like with music because you're in front of an audience and you have to kind of connect with them.
Right.
And a lot of times, because we only do original music, so many times people aren't familiar with all of our songs. And especially if we're open for a band, we play a lot with British Invasion bands.
Great.
Like opening for, for Badfinger or Spencer Davis Group or the Yardbirds, whoever, or even the Herman's Hermits, whoever we're opening for. And so sometimes the people don't really know our music so much. They came to see other people. And so to convince them to bring them in to listen to what you're doing and to convince them.
You're using some of the same
It's the
skills.
same skills in
Right.
both sides.
Trust
Yeah.
and faith.
Yeah.
If I was going to go into emergency, I hope I never will.
Yeah.
I only once
Hmm?
for a what do you call it, appendicitis.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to meet you because you have such a great
Oh,
vibe,
thanks.
and I think I would trust you in the emergency.
Fool. No, well, I mean, that's the whole point is that, to put that across. And in many ways, what I kind of learned in the band worked well in the emergency department.
Wow.
And also, music is scientific as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's certain scientific, you can't just start playing.
Mm-hmm.
There's the guitar is set up in frets and there's chord sequences and modes and things that follow, if the string is not tuned correctly, it's out of tune. The frets on a guitar, it's a logarithmic theorem that determines where the frets are placed. And then it's a combination of using your artistic connection to that. And in medicine, when I was teaching the residents, really there's also the art of medicine, not just the science of medicine. We kind of are moving more and more to the science of medicine, as more and more tests come and we've got scanners and et cetera, et cetera. But, you still have to, people don't come in and say, my glomeruli are off today or whatever. It's like, I feel weak and dizzy. And so you have to evoke from that person and get them to be able to tell their feelings to you in such a way that you can put that into an algorithm and then make a differential diagnosis of what's wrong with them.
Wow.
And
It
so,
sounds very, as well as scientific, but very intuitive.
well,
Like
that's the thing.
music.
There's
Yeah.
the art. It's where the art of medicine is.
Mm-hmm.
The art of connecting with somebody and then getting what they, using your science, but getting what they're saying and bringing those two things together.
Wow.
So
That's absolutely fascinating. Did you have any top rules or anything you really learnt in emergency?
well, the biggest thing when I was teaching the residents is listen to the patient.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no one knows them better than they know themselves. And so you have to really listen to what they're saying and follow what they're saying to really be able to extract the pertinent information in order to be able to plug that into your scientific algorithm for your differential diagnosis.
So going back to your music career, where did it all begin?
Small shack.
Where
I was
did
born
you
a small
grow
black
up?
child. No,
Where'd you grow up?
I actually never did grow up, but
Great.
I did get
I like
older.
it.
And no, I was born in New York City.
Right.
City's so bad they had to name it twice. New York, New York. But
Was it like that when you were growing up?
no. In fact, I grew up in the Bronx, but I grew up in a very gentrified area of the Bronx called Riverdale. So if you spoke to someone from the Bronx, I'd have zero street cred if they knew I was from the Riverdale section of the Bronx. When you're in Los Angeles and say from the Bronx, people are like, oh, okay, sorry, didn't mean to upset you.
Right.
What
That's
do you
what
know?
John does to me. Like,
Yeah, right. So that's where I really started in music. It was just, my house was not particularly, even though it's an Italian, all my grandparents are
Tu sei
Italian.
italiano.
Italiano.
Zambetti.
Sto parlando italiano.
Mamma
Yes, sì.
mia.
So it wasn't a particularly musical house per se. My father would listen to the radio and stuff, but it wasn't like he was listening to arias all day long or anything like that. And he said he had played saxophone in high school, but I never actually ever heard him play the saxophone. So, but for some reason, I was just drawn to music. And I was in a Catholic school with these, I know people have had problems with nuns, but I've had nothing but good experiences, luckily.
Well, that's nice,
Yeah,
isn't
and I had
it?
this fantastic nun from Argentina named Sister Ana Loretta. I remember,
Oh,
I remember all my nuns from grade school. They're all beautiful ladies. Anyway, Sister Ana Loretta somehow realized that I had a affiliation and affection for music, and was my piano teacher. My family did not own a piano.
mm,
So she would come to school early so I could get there early to practice an hour or so before
isn't that
school began at
beautiful?
8 o'clock. Yeah.
Mentors, right?
Yeah. She was a fantastic pianist.
So she was really
Yeah.
the
And then since I didn't
inspiration.
have a piano, she got me a cardboard cutout of an 88 key piano keyboard, which I took home and had on my kitchen table.
Hmm.
And I'd practice for hours on this cardboard cutout, reading the music and playing these classical pieces on the cardboard cutout. And eventually neighbors would come by and go like, "Hey, we have a piano in our house. Our kids don't touch it. This kid's like 4 hours a day playing this cardboard. Come over to our house and
Oh,
play the piano." And then
wow.
eventually, when my parents realized I was serious, they bought a piano.
Ah,
So then, of course, my siblings ended up having to take piano lessons. But
but you're really known for your guitar playing. When did
yeah,
the
that started
guitar enter?
that started about age 12. Now, keep in mind, I was born in 1949. So when I'm 5, it's like 1954. And there really weren't, electric pianos and keyboards. There were like maybe some Wurlitzer ones, but they weren't like ubiquitous. No, there was no such thing as a keyboard,
Hmm.
you know. So um, it wasn't something that you would bring to a party with you. And so
Right.
as I started going to parties when I was like 11 or 12 years old, co-ed parties,
You wanted to be cool,
I
right?
wanted to go. I was a really good piano player, and I could sing, okay, and I was really into early rock and roll. Um,
Who were you into?
well, for me, I'm left-handed,
Hmm.
and so I was really into Fats Domino
Love Fats Domino.
because he has all those left-handed riffs. I really, because it's my dominant hand, I could really do those left-handed bass or doom, doo 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 dee ding, all that kind of stuff. And he's just doing triplets with the right hand. Yeah. So I was really into that. And anyway, but people at parties, if they didn't have a piano, really couldn't do anything. And then a neighbor of mine had a guitar, which he really didn't play. So yeah, so I started messing around with the guitar. And what I found interesting about the guitar is, the piano, when you hit a note, you get a note.
Mm.
I mean, you can hit it harder, make it louder.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of finesse in it. But with the guitar, you have a certain note, and if you vibrato it or you pull it, I mean,
Mm.
it really changes the whole vibe of telling your story and making the guitar sing. And
It is a beautiful
that
instrument.
really
It's actually
appealed to
my
me.
favorite instrument, the
Yeah.
guitar.
And so it really appealed to me. So I started playing the guitar. And then I started high school in the fall of 62. So I just was 13. And was in Manhattan. And there's a famous, really any older musician will know about Manny's Music in New York at 48th Street. And Broadway was the big music center in New York where all the guitar stores were and everything, and a lot of the studios, blah, blah,
That
blah.
was the
It's
happening area,
happening
was
there near
it?
Times Square.
Was it really
It
exciting?
was very exciting because it was all happening there and continued happening really to the present. It's only what was
What
like
kind of bands would hang out or be around that area?
everybody. It depends who was in town. If Elvis's band, Scotty Moore could be there, or the early bands could be there, James Burton. But then as we got older, the Stones could be there, George Harrison could be there. I mean, just
Did you ever get to talk to any of those
I
guys
never
back in
really
the, or were you a
talked to
bit
them. I
shy
was
at
too
that age?
intimidated to do that. But you never knew who you were going to see walking in, to the Manny's. Anyway, that area, there was right across the street, was a guy named Ronnie Lee, who was a jazz guitarist. He had a little shop where he gave lessons.
Nice.
So I went over there to take lessons from a guy named Augie Lamont, who was a fabulous jazz guitarist.
Mm.
And one thing that was really great about, many things great about Augie, but when I first started, I said, well, Augie, you should know I'm left-handed. He said, but you play piano, John, too, right? I said, yeah. He said, well, do you play left-handed piano? I was going, what are you talking about? He says, yeah, what am I talking about? You New Yorker, right? What am I talking about? Yeah, you're going to play guitar right-handed. And it was fantastic that he did that because it's very cumbersome to play left-handed guitar. If you learn that way, you either have to play a right-handed guitar upside down, so your thick string's on the bottom,
Yeah, that sounds.
or you have a left-handed guitar where it's strung normally, but it's a whole nother guitar. So it kind of defeats the purpose if you want to play at parties and stuff. You get somebody else, if you you'd have to bring your own left-handed guitar, or if you have somebody else's guitar, you have to play it upside down. So it's like you have to learn everything upside down and correctly. Anyway, I played right-handed.
Did you fall in love with the guitar?
Yeah,
pretty
right
early
away.
on?
Right away.
as soon as you-
I mean, I
because
really.
you are an amazing guitar player.
No,
so
thank you. But it just really,
it felt right.
It really felt right, and it really resonated.
What was
literally
your
with
first
me.
guitar? What kind of guitar do you
Well,
have?
it-
Martin or
No. It was literally a $10 a month rental
oh wow.
guitar.
At what point do you form the Malibooz or your first band? Or
Yeah.
what point do you start playing out with other people
Yeah.
and meeting Walter?
Yeah, it first started in grade school with some of the guys there, still playing piano. It was in a little band called the Cacophonics, and I wrote a couple songs. One song called "Gimme No Sass,"
I like that.
and then I did a version of Jingle Bells called "The Jingle Stroll," which was like Fats Domino, doom, doo doo doo, ding. Ding ding, do 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 ding, ding ding, do do like Jingle Bells.
Brilliant. It's amazing how in songwriting we're so closely inspired by other musicians or other
Well,
artists.
it's a good way to learn to sing is to try to emulate somebody because you're not going to really ever sound like them. So, but you may learn phrasing that way.
So is your number one form of expression, is it the guitar or is it your voice? And when did you actually start singing, or was that?
When I started high school, I was in a band called the Statics. And that was pretty much all instrumental because at that time, this is all pre-Beatles and stuff. Instrumental bands and then instrumental surf bands. So the big groups were, the Pipeline was a big song, and Miserlou and Wipeout
And
I've
Hawaii
actually
5-0.
the Highway 5 Ventures.
When I was researching the music you loved, I heard that. That was one of my favorite tracks.
That was
as a
actually
kid.
later on for the Ventures.
Yeah.
But we've actually been able to do shows with them. And actually just in December, I did a concert down at the Bay Theater in Seal Beach.
I saw that. That looked awesome.
It was a fantastic place, and it was really fun to do.
You grew up in New York, but you're in love with like surf music. Is that
Well,
it?
it was all the instrumental surf music was the big thing. And
So you were always headed for Malibu, really, weren't you?
So when I was about 14, I wrote a song called "Going to Malibu."
Isn't that extraordinary?
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how
Well-
we get a sixth sense of where
we
we're
had
heading?
believe it or not, even though our school was in Manhattan, we had a surf club.
Ah,
And occasionally we'd go out to the New Jersey shore or Long Island. I mean, we really weren't surfers at all, but we tried. Surfer magazine used to be called the Dana Point Surfer, that magazine. And so we had a subscription to that in New York, and we'd have our
so you
surf
were
club.
dreaming about going out west
Yeah.
from quite an early age,
Yeah.
and listening to it was kind of like I was really into the Doors and all
Yeah.
their songs painted these amazing
Yeah.
pictures of what
The
it
West
was
is the
like.
best.
The West is the best. Did you ever get to see the Doors?
Oh, yes. But to finish this little story on going to Malibu, so we ended up recording it. And in 1965, we made a record and had some success, in the East Coast with the record, and it ended up then playing at the World's Fair, which was in Queens, New York. At the Art Saving, we did the first color TV broadcast.
Wow.
And so that
The
was
first color TV
Yeah.
broadcast. That was you.
we were part, not just us, but we were part of because they were showing all different things. We were like, the teens. So that was 1965. So in 1980, Rhino Records, Warner Brothers came to us and said, we really would like to do that. You never got to do that Malibooz album that you were working on in 65 because the British invasion happened. It kind of killed all the American bands
Oh,
at
wow.
that point. And
I'm sorry.
and so, we loved all those bands, but just in terms of, unless you were the Beach Boys, you were dead in the water.
Right.
So anyway, we'd like you to record that album. So we did, and we recorded a lot of the songs from that time period, and then had some new ones. We re-recorded Going to Malibu, but we had the original guys from high school come out Walter and I were the only guys who remained in the band with this new version of the Malibooz.
And
These
which
guys,
year did you say that was?
that was 1980, album released in 1981.
Wow.
And then in 1996,
Mm-hmm.
Rhino did a box set
Mm-hmm.
of surf music called Cowabunga Surf, which they thought was what the best surf music had been. They nicely included Going to Malibu, but MTV.
Can you give me a little bit of Going to Malibu, the
What?
song?
Give,
Give me a little bit of the song.
well, I hopped in my woody, put my board inside, skeg out the window, and my baby by my side. I'm going to Malibu to ride a surf, yeah, ride.
Brilliant. I love it. And I love the fact your imagination was already going to Malibu.
Yeah. So in 1996, this box set came out, and MTV chose Going to Malibu as the theme song for their MTV Malibu Beach House.
Wow.
So basically, here's a song written by a 14-year-old in the Bronx 30 years previously that then, 30 years later became the theme song that MTV thought most expressed Malibu for their Malibu
Isn't
beach
that
house.
crazy?
So it was just
It's
a
so crazy.
crazy thing about, point being that imagination is a very powerful thing, and that what I was feeling resonated with people 30 years later who were actually determining what song best represents the MTV Malibu Beach House.
Have you always been a dreamer? Have you always had a very creative imagination
so,
that you
you know.
traveled?
Yeah, I think so.
You've certainly lived a very extraordinary life and a very inspired life and a life of service and entertainment. So, I mean, I think you must have a great imagination to do all that.
Yeah, I think any songwriter has to have that because you can write about your own experiences, but the reality is, they're not that interesting.
Right.
To write hundreds of songs. Very few people are that interesting, but people want to hear about hundreds of their songs. But your experiences can be the nidus of a thought or a expression that becomes way more interesting.
So you mean a little bit of it is real and
Yeah.
a little bit is your
Yeah,
imagination.
and a lot of his imagination.
A lot of it is.
So another song that I wrote, this was when I was 13, really one of the first songs I wrote was Surfing and Driving Are the Only Two Things I Know. I was 13, so I obviously didn't have a driver's license, and I was living in New York, and I really couldn't surf. But that song, that's what happened with Surfing and Driving, is that we had a record out on that, and when Walter got signed to Columbia for his solo album in 1976, he recorded Surfing and Driving, and Columbia liked it so much, they actually did a deal with the Malibooz for a single. They said, let's get the Malibooz back together. And then when Rhino Warner's heard about that, that's when they gave us the album deal. But that
Wow.
album, as a 13-year-old, Surfing and Driving, from a guy that couldn't surf or drive.
I mean, I find that quite fascinating. What did you think the first time you saw Malibu?
Well, it was for us, it was Mecca, that we finally had arrived,
Did you hit the water straight away? Were you surfing by then? Or?
No. I mean, just, I came out in 65.
So you're doing your band thing. You're playing music.
Yes.
At what point do you go, oh yeah, actually also I want to be an ER doctor? Or how
Well-
did that go
Well,
down?
there was a couple things. First of all, you have to keep in mind that before the Beatles, there was no such thing as a career for a rock musician after the age of 30.
Right.
No such thing existed,
So you were thinking
including Elvis.
right.
There was no such thing. He went to the army, and that was kind of the end of him, and then he became a Las Vegas guy. And there was really nothing. What happened is we used to call it, they went legit,
Right.
meaning like these teen idols, which would be like Frankie Avalon or Fabian or Bobby Darin. When they got to be 30, they put on a tuxedo and went to Atlantic City or Las
Vegas.
Vegas and started singing Mac the Knife
Oh,
and whatever. So that was an anathema. There was like no way we were going to do that.
right.
And my parents, being first generation Italians here, were very much, we want our son to be a professional.
Ah,
In their mind, a musician was a guy who played at weddings or, sat in the corner of a pizza parlor and played his accordion for tips or something, So there was like not what they were working hard, to better themselves.
Right.
And so there was a lot of pressure on me. It was interesting because initially when I was a musician, especially when I was playing classical, they would always trot me out to play at these things for their friends, how proud they were, how good I was. But that was like, suddenly he's like serious. They saw us play at the World's Fair. And there's like girls screaming it was like, oh my God, this
wasn't what
wasn't what we were intending.
Right.
So there was a lot of pressure on me, really. And so when I got out of college, I continued playing for a year, but really wasn't making a good living at that point. And there's no way they were going to support me.
Okay.
And so I decided, well, I always was interested in medicine anyway. I grew up in an area where a lot of my friends' fathers were doctors.
Right.
And I would also get jobs in the hospital in the summertime, in the daytime, and I played with the band at nighttime.
Oh, wow.
And the jobs I had in the hospital were surgical jobs. So I would be
But
working.
why, out of all the types of doctors you could become, why an emergency doctor? What was it?
I was really, because I
pulled
was
you?
working in surgery a lot, surgery really appealed to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, I grew up in a family that was a construction family. My family was in the construction business. So we're like used to like building things and making things and whatever. And surgery was kind of like that. It was also very much like playing the guitar. I mean, you could read about playing the guitar all day long, but unless you practice and really play it,
Right.
You can't really do it. The same thing with surgery. You can read about surgery all day long, but you want a guy that like does it day in and day out.
Right.
It's a technical skill you need to develop. It's
I mean,
not just like you're talking about it or
Right.
teaching it.
I mean, being in the ER, I mean, it's incredible. It must be incredible pressure, and you're dealing with such high stakes, the highest
No.
of stakes, which is life or death. I mean, has music through the years also, all the years you were practicing medicine, was it also a great sort of outlet, or how do you cope with the kind of pressure day in, day out of being an
Yeah,
emergency
it is.
doctor?
But the pressure, it's interesting because people always talk about there's much more pressure dealing with the hospital administrators
Really?
than there is. If you watch the show The Pit, you'll see that. It's way where he's a way worse time dealing with the hospital administration than he does dealing with the patients.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Isn't that always the way?
there's
Oh, God.
something about in the emergency department about, whatever you want to call it, being a control freak or whatever, however you want to say it. There is something about being able to take control of a situation, about taking control of a chaotic situation and focusing on it. It requires, and just, okay, now this chaotic thing, I can sort this out and I can control it and I can do something about it. We see a guy on the street that's been shot or in a car crash or something like that. It's like, people are like freaking out. But then it's like, okay, here's what it is. What's happening here? Which artery is hit? What am I going to do? I've got to do this, that. Let me do this. You're going down a list. Okay, is the lung collapse? No. Yes. Okay, just do boop, boop.
Wow.
You're going through
That requires some
what
focus.
you're going to do. So you really are focusing on that, and you have control of a situation. So so knowledge equals control in this situation too. So, and because
I think you said something lovely to me on the phone. You said, when we were talking about your story, you said that you're dealing often with situations of inhumanity. Someone's been shot
sure,
or really badly hurt by another. And what you'd like to do was bring the humanity to the situation.
yeah, it's like you see in all these things. I mean, this is like you're seeing inhumanity, man to man, person to person. Now you can bring humanity to it, which you see many times when you see things happen in a mass shooting or a disaster, a natural disaster and stuff. And this, it also gives it an opportunity for the other side to express itself as well.
Wow. Wow.
But so anyways, at that point, I went back to school and went to medical school in New York, and I did sessions at night and played
So
in
you were
clubs at nighttime
Paying,
to pay for the school.
paying
yeah,
for
yeah.
the school
Right, right.
through performing,
Right,
basically.
right. One time, I'd done a club gig like the night before, backing somebody up, and would back up singers sometimes on bass as well as guitar, because people always needed bass players to play. So I knew how to play bass as well, and I'm rolling this patient into the surgical suite, and he looks up at me and says, "God, you really look familiar to me. I know you." And I go, "Well, I'm John Zambetti. I'm a fourth-year student here. I'll be assisting in your surgery today." And he goes, "No. I know you." I said, "Well, my family's from Riverdale, the Zambetti family." And no. We get it. We open the surgical theater. And goes, "Wait a second. You're the bass player from the Kit Kat Club." And it was like, Anesthesia.
That's brilliant. So your passion for music really has taken you all the way across America
Yeah.
to the place you dreamed of. At what point did you start living out west?
I came out in 1976.
Mm-hmm.
My bandmate Walter kept playing music,
Mm-hmm.
and he ended up getting signed as a solo act to Columbia Records in 1976. He said, "John, come on out and do the album with me."
Wow.
So
So
I,
he had been in your band earlier, and then you were going to
well,
be
we
in
were
his
together
band.
and we played together in high school. He was in the Malibooz.
Yeah.
We kept playing high school and college. The Malibooz changed their name to Sageworth in college because by then
Ah,
it was kind of surf bands were very passe by 66 when we started college. So he became Sageworth and played more kind of Birdsey, Buffalo, Springfield. But that band kept on playing after college. And Walt said, "Why don't you come out to play?" So I said, "Great." So I came out to play with Walter in 1976. So that's when I came to California.
what was California like in '76?
Well, it was
Were you living out in Malibu, or where were
no,
you?
we originally we were living in Claremont.
Mm-hmm.
It was a real mecca of musicians at that time. And so I came out here and with Walter, he had a little band there, and we started playing while we're getting ready to start doing his album.
Wow.
And we ended up with Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks as the producers of Walter's first
How
album.
crazy is that?
They
That was
just-
before they were big and famous.
They
is
were
it?
just joining Fleetwood Mac in '76. That's
Were
when
they
that,
fun to
they're really
hang
fun,
out with?
really
and-
fun, really great.
Do you ever play the Whiskey a Go Go? Or
Everything,
I played the Whiskey a
the
Go Go.
Whiskey, Roxy, Gazzarri's,
Troubadour.
Troubadour, all those places, and would hang at the Rainbow, Chateau Marmont, da.
I really partied at the Chateau
Yeah.
Marmont.
Yeah, so all those places, that was the scene, and especially at that point, because Fleetwood Mac really took off when Lindsey and Stevie, because as you know, they had been a band for a long time, Fleetwood Mac.
Right.
But when Lindsey and Stevie joined, then they had Rhiannon, and those hits really kicked
Elevated
everything up.
the whole scene.
Yeah, and then that was that first. That album was called Fleetwood Mac. People think it's the first Fleetwood Mac album. It was like the 10th Fleetwood Mac album.
So as producers, what did they bring out in you?
Well,
Do you feel?
well, Lindsay really was very simpatico. We were the same age.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were very simpatico, talking about the same songs. In fact, we were talking about the Beach Boys song, Farmer's Daughter,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of a deep cut. A lot of people don't know. It wasn't a single. And we were talking about what a great song that was and what a cinematic song it was and how different it was than other songs of the era. And Fleetwood Mac ended up covering that song as a result of that. We all were very simpatico in what we liked to do. We all had come up the same way, really.
So you're doing all this music and you're playing out. At what point do you go back to medicine again?
So around that point, I started working in the emergency departments again.
Wow. So there's always been this.
Yeah, because in the
amazing-
emergency room you did shifts, so you could work for a couple of weeks and then go play for a couple of weeks or do whatever you wanted to do, because it wasn't like you had an office.
I mean, I can totally see why Jane fell in love with you, because you're kind of like a double whammy, aren't you? You've got the rock star thing, but hey, you've also got an emergency doctor. That's great.
Very, very handy.
Very
Well, one
handy.
thing that was really good about it too, of course, is that consequently I also had a steady income as well, so that I never really had to play a lot of things that a lot of musicians have to do, like being cover bands in bars and stuff like that, or
Bar
do jingles
mitzvahs.
or whatever. Not that it's great that the people do that, but just for me, I just wanted to play original music, so I was very fortunate. That
So in a way, it protected your musical journey.
Yeah, I mean, I could play original music in clubs, whatever, even though it wouldn't make enough money to live on or pay rent. But I
Right.
didn't have to worry about that.
I know you were married for many
Yes.
years. At what age were you when you met your wife?
I met her in 1976,
Right.
literally 6 weeks before I left for California.
Beautiful. And you were actually married for many years, right?
We were
48
together
years.
for
48
43 years, yeah.
43 years. That's
And we have 2 children. Yeah, and she's a phenomenal lady. And many people would say to me, "How are you able to do your medical business?" And because then I had a medicine business as well, and do your music and whatever. And it's like, well, Joan, that's how she kept everything together.
She was
plus the children.
great supporter.
Great supporter, but really a great partner.
Mm.
It wasn't just she was a supporter, but also a great partner and a wonderful mother for our children,
Mm-hmm.
and really kept everything, really kept everything together. It was great.
very sadly,
Yeah,
as I
she died
know,
about 7 years ago.
she died
Yeah, yeah.
about 7 years ago. Did you think you would ever have a second big love story? Not everybody gets
No, I didn't. I
that.
mean, I really, at the time, I mean, I wasn't suicidal, but I was obviously depressed about it. And I'm very close with my children.
Mm,
But nevertheless, I remember thinking at that time, I had 43 years with an unbelievable marriage.
mhm,
And I'm thinking, you know, people don't get that.
mm,
And I've been extremely lucky.
mhm,
Uh, yeah, I mean, many things, but that especially, which is the basis of everything,
mhm,
really. And I thought, if I get sick, heck, I'm not going to do anything. Just, I've had an unbelievable ride.
mhm.
Thanks a lot, God, whoever you want to believe in, and then
Mhm.
see you on the other side.
Wow, yeah. So,
And I just thought that would be it. I had a great ride. I got way more than I could ever have hoped for. I got
mhm,
way more than really almost anybody else even gets.
mhm.
And so, like, great. I'm very grateful for it. Appreciate it. See you on the other side.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I obviously haven't been through that. My partner, John, did go through that. He lost his wife. How do you, if you've had an amazing relationship, how do you open yourself again to maybe having another love story?
Kind of feel like Joan made that happen.
No, it's funny you say that because I always think Liz made John and I
Yeah,
happen. Yeah.
because it was just an unbelievable coincidences
Hmm.
that happened for Jane and I to get together.
I know. I was there on the first
You were
night
there
where
on the first night.
I said to Jane, I said to Jane, let's go to Dreamland. Let's
Yeah,
shake off the blues and go to
yeah.
Dreamland. And I think that was the first time you saw her out and about on her own, right?
Same thing. It was Rusty Anderson was playing. It was Paul McCartney's
See,
guitarist.
music brought you together.
And Rusty's, and I wasn't gonna I don't usually just like go out on my own.
Hmm.
I'm not really a guy like barfly. I don't
Mm.
drink for openers, but I don't really go like hang out at bars trying to meet people or whatever. I usually, whatever.
You were
So
just there to see the music,
I
right?
just went to see Rusty,
Yeah.
and wait, do you want me to tell this story?
Yeah, tell the story.
I
Why
mean,
not? I like it. I was part of it.
yeah,
So.
yeah. So I just, thought I was, just there, and then I went to go to the bathroom, and I've been in Malibu like 35 years, and so I've coached soccer, boys and girls soccer, and baseball, and I played in the church choir for 30 years, and I've been on boards at the schools, and blah 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 blah. So a lot of people know me,
Mm,
and I know a lot of people's faces,
mm,
but I know you as Jimmy's mother, as
right.
opposed to being. I may not remember your name. So very often I'll see people and they go, "Hey, John, how you doing?" I go, "Hey, great, good to see you again." I mean, I know the person, but I don't really remember their name. And so, and also my distance vision isn't what it used to be. So anyway, I was heading to the restroom, and there was Jane sitting at a table with you and some other lady,
Yes.
and and I recognized Jane's face, thinking she's somebody's mom from baseball or something. And I was about to go, "Hey, good," and I was like, "Oh, it's Jane Seymour," and I thought, and I was like, and I kept going. But when I got to the restroom, I called my son Johnny, who was in Berlin. He was promoting his new album, and said, I just saw Jane Seymour, Dreamland, and I know you know her son, and Swayze is a friend who's of hers. He's one of Johnny's best friends, and he's a rapper, and but they all grew up together. Anyways, I said to him, he said, "Let me check it out." Johnny was in Berlin. He called Swayze. Swayze called Sean. He said, "She's single. Let's put them together. Be great."
Brilliant. I love it. Well, you're such a good
And
person.
so
Everybody got behind
as
it.
we got together,
I got to be
and yeah, and so
your chaperone
the
on
next
your
week,
first
Swayze
date.
was playing. Swayze was playing at the club. Brought Jane to the gig and said, "Somebody wants you to meet." I saw Jane and I said, "Well, I believe we're supposed to meet." She says, "Yes, we are." The next week, we had lunch together, and we talked for 5 hours. And
Mhm.
it got to dinner time. I said, "Would you like to go have dinner?" And she said, "Well, I would, but I have dinner plans with this friend of mine, this British friend of mine, singer, and I keep stuff keeps coming up, and I keep having to cancel the dinner with her. And I feel terrible about it. I really want to have dinner with her." And so I said, "Listen, don't worry about it. Bring her along."
And I came along on the first date. That's classic. It was brilliant,
Yeah,
actually. And then I think I was cheeky enough. I arrived at your house.
Yeah.
And then I said to Jane, well, can I call John as
Yeah,
well?
yeah,
So
yeah.
then it's Jane plus 2
Yeah.
looking at you. We had that lovely dinner sitting up high. It was really
We're up in
wonderful.
my vineyard.
In
Yeah.
your vineyard,
Yeah.
looking over Sierra Retreat.
Yeah.
And I always remember John said, Jane seems so happy and relaxed.
Oh.
So it was sort of meant to be in a way, wasn't it?
Well, I think so.
I mean, I think one of the beautiful things you said when we were talking on the phone was when you're in an operating room dealing with lives, you get this incredibly divine sense of connection of all things.
Mhm.
I don't know, if you believe in God or what you personally
Well, I
believe
do
in.
believe in a higher power because in my mind, things are, especially the human body, is so complex that it's hard to believe that it just happened.
Mm.
All these, and we don't even know a minuscule amount of what the really body and mind can actually do. But what we do know is so insane
Mm.
that it's hard to believe that. And then the thing about music, why does music affect you? To me, that's what the soul is all about. It's connected. Why does some music connect with some people to bring them to tears or laughter or change their entire mood? What is it about music that does that? That to me, I don't want to get too out of it here, but to me, it's kind of a divine situation.
Well, I mean, when you talk about meeting Jane and everything that kind of came together, you get that incredible sense of how things that
Right.
are meant to come together do, like
Yeah.
magnets, maybe not magnet and steel, but just maybe magnets,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you madly in love with Jane?
Yes, indeed.
I know you have this beautiful new album
Thanks.
called Evocation. I listened to it last night and this morning. I thought it was so beautiful.
Thank you.
Very romantic, very heartfelt, very evocative. I know you have 1 or 2 songs on there about Jane.
Yeah.
She's your muse, is she?
Yeah, I mean,
Or
I've written a lot of songs. Besides that album, there's been a whole bunch of other songs since then, too. She's always very inspiring,
Mhm. What is it about her that really inspires you?
There's so many things about her. One thing, I find is that I think of her as being like preemptively generous.
Right, she's very generous.
She sees a situation that she might help intervening in and doesn't wait for it to happen.
Mm.
She doesn't wait for the person to fall off the cliff to go throw him a rope. She sees something's going to happen and she realizes that she could do something about it and be there to help. And it's very interesting to watch.
I love that part of Jane.
Yeah.
And I've seen it play out myself. I remember one time we were having a rough Christmas. And I remember at the end of a little party on Boxing Day at her house, she handed me some of her beautiful scarves.
Oh.
And that was actually the first Christmas gift I had received that Christmas.
Wow.
But I just thought, wow, she really got it. And it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
so special. So I've experienced her generous heart on
Yeah.
many occasions. But I mean, Jane she's an international movie star. I'm sure she's quite a hurricane. And
Yeah.
and you've been filming all over the world.
I have a line in
right?
one of my songs where I call her a tender hurricane.
A tender hurricane.
Yeah.
Was it a lot to handle?
Well, no, initially when you meet her, she is a film star, obviously. And, initially when I saw her, and I thought, okay, this, it's going to be fun to maybe go out with her and see whatever happens, whatever. But I'm thinking, but do I really want to get involved with a movie star? But then when I saw her with her sisters, it was a whole nother story. Because there were these 3 sisters that even though one was a movie star, it didn't make any difference at all. They were,
You saw that she was really very
she
down
was
to earth.
very down to earth, and just a genuine, really genuine person. And
I mean, you see that whenever
Yeah.
you're really around her, don't you? When
Yeah.
we arrived to her party, I think an hour early because I got the wrong time.
right,
She just took it all in her stride, came down,
Yeah.
said, "Would you like a drink?" and said, "Let's play some music."
yeah, right.
Very, very generous, very
Yeah.
open-hearted, like her foundation.
Yeah. And so what happened, actually, interestingly enough, is that she took off on this book tour
Mm.
because she had told a friend who had written a book she would help her promote the book. And the SAG strike was on there, so Jane could not promote her TV show, but she could help her friend, who was first-time author, totally unknown, get on some of these morning TV shows, national TV shows, Today's Show, these different national TV shows, and also have appearances at Barnes and Noble and stuff, which might not have taken her as a first-time author, but with Jane attached, she could do it. So Jane said she would help her. And this woman, her husband, was a very wealthy guy, and just thanked Jane for the tour. He had rented a yacht with a bunch of his billionaire friends, and they were cruising up around the East Coast. So I'm back.
Oh my God, you're thinking she's there with a billionaire, right?
Well, a bunch of them. And so I'm thinking, well.
Oh no.
And at the time, we hadn't even held hands or anything. So I was thinking, well, maybe she's just not feeling it or whatever. But as it turns out, she was afraid, because if she had had bad experiences in the past. So I was thinking to myself, well, I'm going to have to get on this. If anything's going to happen, I'm going to have to pull out the stops.
Brilliant.
So
I love it.
So I wrote her.
Would you do it?
I wrote her a song, which is actually on my album. It's called A While. But I wrote a song and I demoed it on my Pro Tools studio at home. And I made her a little MP3 of it and I sent it to her. And she absolutely loved it, and asked the captain to pull the boat over and came back.
Oh, now that is a romantic story.
Yeah.
That is a
The power of music.
The power of music. And also, seems to be a theme in your life, which is the power of connection.
Yeah.
You knew you needed to really connect with her in an authentic way, it sounds like. Was the connection just very authentic and immediate? Or
Well, it wasn't immediate because she was scared, but then finally she relaxed, and her sisters and her daughter said, you can't live in fear. You're going to have to decide if you want to trust somebody again. And he seems to be like a trustworthy guy. I mean, he was in a relationship for 43 years. So
yes, John, we all thought you were just wonderful.
No,
You're
thanks.
wonderful for Jane.
So anyway, it was so Jane finally felt that way too. Whatever. So she finally said, "Okay, I'm going to take a leap here and trust again."
So is this it for the rest of your lives? Are you going to
Yeah.
just keep amusing each other and making music and movies and
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been writing a lot of songs with her in mind. There's always something about her. She'd actually joke about it. What'll happen is, for example, I have a song out that I did, which just is up now, called "Bouncing in the Clouds."
I love that song. I heard that the other day.
Thanks.
Oh, sing a little bit of the hook.
Oh, I'm bouncing in the clouds like she's finally allowed, letting just enough sun in to please the crowds. Anyway,
I love it. I think you played me 2 songs.
Yeah.
Are they on
that's
the
all.
new album?
No,
They're singles, are they?
they're singles, yeah. And but with "Bouncing in the Clouds," we were in Ireland. She's filming her TV show, her 5th
Harry
season
Wild,
of Harry
right?
Wild. Yes,
How many years have you?
this was the 5th season
5th
that
season.
we were just filming, and we have a nice cottage on the Irish Sea, which we rent, and I have a little Pro Tools studio there. It's a great situation.
What do? You spend your days working on music
Well,
when she's filming?
Yeah, because where we're in a little town called Dalkey, and it's kind of in a way like the Malibu of Ireland, of Dublin, because Bono lives there, and
Do you get to hang out with
Van
Bono?
Morrison.
I love Van Morrison. You
is-
get to hang out with him?
I didn't hang out with Bono. He wasn't there actually, but his wife would hang out with Jane. I spent time. Our next door neighbor, one of my best friends, Derek Drazian, is the guitarist for the Chieftains. All these great singers and players in town, and they really took me in. Shay Fitzgerald, all these good people.
How lovely. What a dream come true.
Yeah, so all the musicians really took me in. And so I started playing with these guys and girls. And I set up my little Pro Tools studio so I could write my music. But with the Bouncing on the Clouds, it just was an example. You're asking about Jane influencing. She woke up one morning and she said, "Oh my God, I just feel like today I'm bouncing in the clouds." And I was like, "Don't say another word. Don't say a word. Please keep quiet." And so I had to go get my guitar because I had it in my mind. When I write, someone will say something or hear something, And I will I write in kind of a cinematic way where,
It's funny. My writing is very much like that. That's how I approach my songwriting.
so I'm really not good at writing with other people because
Oh,
what happens is that I see, she says bouncing the clouds. So I see a whole little movie about what that means, bouncing the clouds. And then the music, have the music, then I have to fill in the words. So
right,
I figured, let me get my guitar and go lay down a track. Sometimes I'll just lay it down on my phone.
right.
And then later on do the whole thing.
So you have to say, "Hey, honey,
Yeah.
hang on a minute. You go to breakfast because I'm."
She likes to make it a little bit more dramatic. She said, she always go like, she said, John said, Jane, quiet, don't say another word. Quiet, quiet.
So she takes the Mickey a bit, does she?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she does. So you said you met Mr. Jagger. When did you meet Mr. Jagger?
That was 2 weeks ago. We were in,
Woohoo! Always wanted to meet Mick.
yeah,
I bet he's a character, isn't he?
very, is different. I've actually not met him, but I've been in places with him before, but never really got to talk to him. This was a dinner party with 4 couples. So it was just, everybody just around one table talking for 5 hours. So really got to talk to him. This was in Mustique, which is this
Yeah,
island in the
right.
Grenadines. Yeah.
Jane goes there for the jazz festival, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she has a friend that has a home there, and he has a home there. Anyway, without getting too much detail, we had this dinner together. It was really great because, first of all, he's very, of course, he'd be interesting, but he's exceptionally well read and well traveled. And Jane's mother had been in a Japanese concentration camp in Indonesia in World War II. And so she had gone back with her mother to see where this camp was. And so she's traveled, and of course, Jane has done movies all over the world. And so she knew about, New Guinea and different, and Borneo and different places. And where he travels a lot to these third world countries
Wow.
to see the cultures there. And, and also no one knows him either. So he has a buddy of his that he's had known since the early 60s. That's his kind of tour manager, semi-producer, whose name is Matt. And so they were great to talk to. And then, Mick and I also talked a bit about starting bands back in the day, in the early 60s and stuff. And, how when you started a band back then, you didn't really audition people because nobody was any good anyway. It was like a band was more like a gang. It was people you wanted to hang out with
Right.
more than
So that's what he said. He just wanted to hang out with Keith and Charlie.
He saw Keith on the train, and Keith had a bunch of records under his arm, and he knew him from the neighborhood, and and knew he just wanted to hang out with those guys, and that's what happened. Anyway, it was just fun talking with him about that. Being from the same situation again. Nobody, even if you look at old Beatles interviews, people would say to John Lennon, how, long do you think this is going to last? And he said, well, I'm hoping a couple of months. Maybe I could be big-headed and say it lasts 6 months. He had no idea that it would be, 60 years on. Paul McCartney's playing. I always say, when Paul McCartney closed Glastonbury to like a huge standing ovation, that was over 60 years after those songs had been recorded. And they were still relevant, and a younger crowd was like going bananas with him playing them. I went to Woodstock in 1969. That would be like somebody from 1909 closing Woodstock.
Wow.
I mean, that's the perspective.
Wow.
And having it be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And that never existed before the Beatles. Mick certainly never thought that, 65 years later.
Well, that's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. And do you know that every day he sings his entire set?
Wow, that's why he's so good.
Yeah. Besides being in unbelievable physical shape.
How many songs?
It's like 30 songs.
Oh my God.
And when he
sings the whole set.
He sings the whole set, start to finish.
That is discipline and passion.
And when they're on the road, the sound check is the entire set. He sings the entire set before then doing it live.
Wow. Imagine how fit that guy is.
That's what I'm saying. Vocally as well as physically.
I've heard that before he goes on tour, he actually trains in a pool.
Yeah. His father was a physical trainer.
Right.
I'm sure he does all those things.
Is he very charismatic?
He's very good, but he's very down to earth.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't like, to me, it was a semi-mythological experience. I felt
No,
like,
I'm getting that.
I felt like
because-
I went to Mount Olympus and I'm having, oh, hey, Zeus, what's shaking, baby?
That's brilliant. I love it. I feel the same if I was
know-
sitting having supper next to Mick Jagger. You're living such an incredible life, John.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm very
it's
grateful,
epic.
believe me.
Did you ever think you'd be living in Malibu with a beautiful movie star, making your music, in love, and sitting here with me in the Cabana
I thought someday, if I play my cards right, practice real hard, Zoe Scott will have me on her show. Someday, if I just play my cards right. But,
No, you're too kind actually to just say, okay, you need a guest, I'll come. Thank you so much. I've heard you and Jane say we decided just to live fully in the moment and not to waste a moment. Is that something that came from?
I mean, the harsh reality is I'm 77, she's 75.
Yes, and it sounds like, working in the emergency wards, it's like you see life and death.
It's all about priorities in life.
Mm-hmm.
One moment your priority is, do I get the green BMW or the blue BMW? And next minute it's like, can I get a breath? Can I actually take my next breath? I mean, it happens so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really take advantage of the beauty of life and the beauty of other people. And so, that's what we're trying to do, is live our best lives that we can and live them together. We enjoy each other's company immensely, and we love kind of working off each other with other ideas. She's full of ideas. I'm full of bull. And, no, but
I'm sure it must be a creative symphony all the time.
It's amazing. It's really amazing.
The muse going back and forth. And what about being in one of Jane's movies or something? I could see you playing a great part. Do you have any desire to act, even for a small part?
I've actually done some in her TV show.
Oh, you have?
I've just done some cameos,
Right.
and it's kind of like a Where's Waldo. I mean, in one show, I'm in a dance studio, and of course, I'm friends with.
You dance across the studio.
I'm friends with the director,
Mm-hmm.
Rob Quinn, and so. You'll see this thing where there's things in a dance studio, but there's an unusual amount of time on this background dancer, which is me. It's like, why is I? And then another time I played the part of a sheep. I was a sheep.
Real sheep?
A sheep.
In a costume?
In
or
a costume. In a costume with a sheep's head on. And then in this last episode, I was at a formal party in a tuxedo.
Brilliant.
So it's kind of like a Where's Waldo situation. I haven't been on as a character per se.
Like a speaking part.
Right, like a speaking part per
That'll
se.
be the next thing. So you guys are all getting ready for the Open Hearts Gala. That
Yes.
will be in April.
Yes.
I know that's a massive heart calling for Jane
Yes.
to a way she really shares,
Yes.
her fame,
April 17th and 18th.
fame and fortune.
Yeah.
Yes. The 17th and 18th, it's
Yeah.
her charitable organization.
Yes, the Open Hearts Foundation.
Yeah.
And you can, or openheartsfoundation.org.
Mm-hmm.
It's on everything. It's on Instagram. It's on Facebook. It's everywhere. And the Friday night is at the Sagebrush Cantina.
I heard that was going to be like an amazing cowgirl night.
That's
or
more,
something.
yeah. And that's something, and it's a little less expensive to go. I don't
Yeah.
know what the ticket price is. And that's from noon, I believe, to 6 p.m. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
Friday. Then Saturday night is the gala, which is at her house. It's an expensive event, black tie. And that is
But
in the
absolutely
evening.
fabulous and for
Fabulous.
amazing causes,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Do
It's
you know
amazing
which charities yet this
Yes, because the thing about with the Open Hearts Foundation, what she does is she finds these kind of orphan. First of all, let me just say with the Open Hearts Foundation, the money goes to the recipients.
year?
There's
100%.
100%. There's one person that's hired at a nominal fee. That's the director that coordinates everything. Everybody else, the whole board is volunteers. They pay their own way. They pay their own travel, everything. They buy tickets to the gala. So it's not like money gets siphoned off, as sometimes happens in these foundations. And what Jane does, they really vet these kind of orphan foundations. When I say orphan, they're not about orphans, but they're people find a need, something that needs to be taken care of, that maybe is not being seen because it's not so sexy or not that well known. And she'll fund that. And what often happens is she'll fund something, and because she's done that, it'll bring it to the attention of larger foundations. So she's actually had places she's funded that ended up getting the biggest one was like 13 times what she gave.
Wow.
So if her fund gave $1 million to some organization, they were able to get an additional 13 million from huge organizations
Wow.
because it's been vetted by her.
Wow.
And they know it's a real thing, that the
Isn't
money's
that
going to go to the
wonderful?
people. And this year she is focusing on mental health.
Beautiful.
As it's a huge problem in this country.
A huge problem,
you know,
right? And not enough resources.
Not enough
to help.
resources, and a lot of resources were cut from that. I mean, without getting on too much of a soapbox here, is probably the primary reason for the homeless situation when they shut down the psychiatric facilities in the state of California and didn't provide for any halfway houses. And all these people were just on the street. A lot of the homeless are not drug addicts. A lot of them are mentally ill. And anyway, the point of the matter is this is focusing on mental health and trying to get resources to people for mental health. So it's a very worthwhile organization.
Yeah, wonderful. I've been to the galas.
Yeah.
They're absolutely stunning.
Yeah,
They're
the Palms will be playing at the gala on
Great.
Saturday night. on the
Great.
18th.
How phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's an extra special one this year, isn't it? Because it's like the Jubilee.
Yes,
She just turned 75. It's
Yes.
unbelievable because she does not look 75.
I can attest to that.
Yeah.
Those legs are not 75. I don't know, I don't know where she had them flown in from, but
But so it's an extra special one, and it always feels like a beautiful kind of family all being
Yeah.
there and doing something really good together. So I hope
it's great.
I
It's
hope
great.
everybody turns out and
Thanks.
flies in from everywhere. I'll be
Yeah.
there.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank
as a
you
guest.
so much.
Yeah.
This was absolutely a pleasure. Rock
sweet.
and roll, baby.
All right,
Let's do
baby.
a song or two.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.